I watched the first season of Steven Universe and I thought it would be fun to actually do a quick review of the show. First things first, pacing. I feel 50-50 about the pacing of this show. On one side, I love that they spend time building this world and introducing us to characters. But there's a part of me that very much feels like if some episodes did not exist, it would be a better and more concise story. And as I write this, I am leaning on the latter. This show really takes its time to ramp up. These are the words of a man who stopped watching by episode 10 and came back because everybody said it gets better in the second half. When I watch Steven Universe, I always feel like there's this larger narrative about the gems, their past, and how they got here, and we're spending way too much time discovering the intricacies of Bitch City. Which actually brings me to the plot of the show. It's really about this young boy who is half human and half gem, and is actively trying to navigate a life on the edge of these two realities. On one side, he has to figure out the whole being a kid thing, growing up, friends, and relationships. And on the other side, he has to figure out what does being a gem mean, and the dangers and adventures that come with that. And what it's like being a hybrid, a being no one has ever seen before, so no one can guide him on it. And apparently, he's his own mom. Technically. Technically. It very much feels like the writers use this duality as a vehicle for taking your emotions on a bit of a roller coaster. If you want to speed things up, we take Steven on an adventure with the gems. And if we want to slow things down, we navigate Bitch City. And that eventually helps us navigate an interesting number of themes. What it means to be a family in a world when the norm is a nuclear family, how aliens would raise a human being, the anxiety that comes with being a teenager, and the terrible way you treat people in order to find acceptance. Just a word on this, I really hope Lars gets a redemption arc because every time he's on screen, I just hate his behavior. We navigate the concept of mortality. The gems, they don't really age. Like you could stab them and they'll come back as long as their gems are intact. Also, Steven gets in a lot, and I mean a lot, of near-death experiences. Like this kid is going to need a therapist to deal with all this trauma. Come on! And also we talk about war and the scars it leaves behind. I will say one cool thing though, the writers actually do a good job of setup. As shocking as the revelations may be, they never feel out of place. They feel earned. Case in point, gun being a fusion. Yes, it's shocking when it's revealed, but when you think about it and see that she has two gems, and when her door opens, two gems line up, it makes sense. You don't think, that is so left field. You think, I should have put this together way sooner than I actually did. Okay, characters. What I do love about these characters is their designs. Just at face value, you can see what type of person they are. Just one look at Amethyst and you know she's the wild and fun one of the group. And as I said, there's many themes to explore in this world, but it's explored through the experiences of each individual character. So the weight of the entire show doesn't feel like it's carried by Steven and the Crystal Gems only. I hate Lars, but he's a great example of the teenage experience and desire for acceptance. Amethyst talks about being ashamed of your past, feeling like you don't belong, and freedom. Through Pearl, we'll discover what it actually means to be strong beyond pure physical dominance. We explore what love looks like for kids, teens, gems, and different races. There's very few characters I look at and say, you don't really serve a purpose. Except maybe Onion. He just looks like an agent of chaos. Like seriously, look at these eyes. I think Greg is cool. The relationship with Steven is pretty amazing. Also, this man should keep an eye on his kid more often. The Lapis Lazuli episode should not have been the first time Steven's adventures had him worried. I do love that he's also a musician though, and that him and Steven bond over that. However, go live with your kid, man. Go live with your kid. Speaking of music, now I'm not an expert, so I really can't dive into it as much as I would like to, but all these shits is bangs. Giant Woman, Let Me Drive My Van Into Your Heart. What? Absolute bangers. Bangers, man. Bangers. And the final showdown. The song that Estelle sings. Amazing. Amazing. Which actually makes me want to talk about that final battle, or rather the central conflict of the show. At first we thought it was the monsters who were the bad guys, but they actually just gems like the rest of us, just corrupted. I find it interesting that we don't get the true antagonist of the show until the very end with Peridot and Jasper. But when they arrive, they make a callback to the Red Eye situation. So it feels like coming to Earth was always the plan. It's an attempt at making you feel like it's not left field. An attempt at making you feel like this fight was always part of the plan. I personally would have loved it if the villain story was explored more. Those two last episodes weren't enough for the final showdown, at least in my opinion. And that links back to my issue with the show. There's clearly a more interesting narrative to explore, but hey, let's explore Steven's million powers. Speaking of Steven, Steven has gone through so much, learning how to heal, shapeshift, has a sword, shield, and a lion. And I would have really loved it if Steven had used all those skills in order to play a bigger role in the final confrontation. But all we really get from him is him using his shield to protect people, and in so doing showcases that, oh hey, Rose is kind of still alive, living through him. And it also showcases another weak point of the show, I feel. The gems are never really shown spending enough time training Steven. There was an episode with Pearl that doesn't really matter because even though Steven finds a sword, he never returns to Pearl to learn how to use it. All he cares about is his shield. The fact that they didn't know that he had the sword shows me that combat training wise, he isn't getting the attention he needs. That's also why I found this testing episode very weird. What have you really been teaching this kid to test him on? But I could be wrong. I also don't get Garnet winning in the end. Jasper literally wrecked you a few moments ago, and all of a sudden you're keeping up. It's just a little unbelievable. The ending was cool though. Lapis stopped feeling sorry for herself and trapped Jasper in the ocean. Personally, I would have joined up with the gems, kicked her ass till she was a gem and bubbled her, so that we can focus on the new thread that we discovered exists. Yellow Diamond. But that's just me. I know in the last part of this I sound like I'm bashing the show, but overall, I'm actually enjoying it. I just wish there was a more concise story and less beach story episodes. But I guess its appeal is in the mystery. As you watch it, questions come up, and because you want them answered, you stay for the lows. This does create an issue though. Once we discover a full story behind all these mysteries, it's going to be hard to pivot to a good story when you've built up this world. I know this show has a lot of seasons, so anything I complain about might actually be resolved already in the upcoming episodes. But overall, it's genuinely a good watch. All in all, I'd give it a 7.5.